probably not usually a statement for people who don't really, we're typing this without realizing what they should be putting in. And you end up setting things to available that are going to be totally broken when you try to actually do anything else. So I think that if we're going to do reset state, we should make people say what they actually want to reset it to instead of and I only looked at it for a minute, but I think openstack client actually did that. I think it actually did that. I don't know if anybody's here that actually did this. So I had some code up that actually did this.
That's one more thing.
That's why.
Oh, that's that.
Yeah, I'll put the patch. I didn't finish it, but I wrote enough of it where you could like see what it did. Or should I put it on the notes? Perfect. So I don't know. I think we should do this. I didn't know what anyone else thought. The other thing that I was kind of hinting at with this was that we need to actually design code where we don't have to end up running this all the time, but that's kind of the long term. It's going to take a while to do that.
So I haven't looked at the patch. And I don't know, this might be exactly what you're thinking. I would love to see all of those just go away. And if we wanted, so I am guilty of using that command once in a while when I'm testing stuff, right? So with my code, it's going to break it, and it's a lot easier to use that than it is to build a database. But there's no reason why we couldn't just implement a cinder manage command. And then that's an admin only thing. We're not giving it to users. And you don't have to write one for every damn resource.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a lot because it's API instead of cinder management, but it doesn't really do anything if you wouldn't just do a cinder management. It doesn't really check anything. It doesn't really do.
So Brian put that in like way back when because there was a bug and it was out in release in stable with detach, and we were getting stuck in detach and all that.
Yeah,
and that's what it was for.
and so we actually, I mean, and now it also has the ability to reset migration status and attach status as well, because there's cases where things go wrong and something just gets on this state. There doesn't need to be a way to do it. The case I was referring more to is we have this model of you do an operation and then we put the volume or whatever in error to tell you the operation is your log file. My hope is that now that we have this asynchronous message API, which we have, but we haven't really started using a whole lot yet. My hope is that we can find cases like that where instead of putting an error to say that something went wrong, we'll just put it back in the state it was to start with, and then use the user message API and have the client be able to figure out what happened and why it didn't, whatever it has. Then you don't have to leave things, at least for the cases where we intentionally leave things hanging in states that aren't really useful. That's a lot on the particular case. don't know if that's related, this was more just about shaping CLI, so. I'm not really worried about ability things with this, so I should just do arguments and the big ones that you have to actually give the state. Because I think if anyone's like writing scripts, they call cinder reset state, that's probably not something that should really be doing in the first place. So I think we can just a bit without breaking much on it.
We're gonna get screened back.
But,
We'll get screened back. I mean, regardless of whether you think somebody should be doing it or not, if they are.
so I did come up with a way to avoid doing that, but it's kind of hacky. Because what we could do is tie it to the micro version, but it's kind of like a fake thing. You just say, if you're opting into the micro version 3.30, the client will act as well. But there's no actual server micro version. And it's kind of terrible, but it's basically a way to not break full-throat scripts and stuff.
We treat our CLI as an so this kind of works.
Well, and I'm not saying that I would object to your idea of removing it either, frankly. Especially if we give them another mechanism to use.
Yeah, I think I'd rather too, because like I said, it's going back to available, business, the safest thing to do, so it's almost a bug that we make it unsafe.
And I think quotas like this actually defaults to error, which at least like less.
I don't know about
But I
that.
think
I'd rather make people specify it than change the default.
Yeah, I think saying you have to put something here, probably it's probably the best option.
So it's, I mean, the code's pretty easy. We just have to kind of decide if we want to do it and decide we're going to quit adding one every time we add a new thing to Cinder. That's where this came up. We were, somebody was adding one for, I think it was PTG snapshot. I don't remember. But, yeah, groups. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. So there's still some pieces that are a little tricky because if you reset like a volume state, but you don't go out of your way to also reset the attached state, then you can make things that are kind of invalid. And
We need to fix that.
yeah, that's another thing we could explore is kind of, you know, if you do a reset state and the thing is attached, then make sure you're also resetting. You know.
We shouldn't have those dual states. We should only have, we can have the
Yeah.
It could be if you guys want. Just for the sake of causing some controversy. But I actually like his ideas.
So are you stepping away from the idea of making it a single management?
I'm going to defer to
Okay.
what Eric would like to see.
The idea of what?
The Cinder management.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, the problem is we already have an API. And like, it's,
Yeah.
you know,
I just wanted to make sure that,
yeah.
that piece is clear.
It's worth, I mean, it's worth considering, but seeing that we already have an API there is kind of like, I don't know. Right. Yeah, and that's the thing, if we're going to add all of that kind of stuff, it's actually better that it's an API probably.
So just to kind of back up and make sure that are you talking about, you're not talking about just making it so that it requires a state, right?
No, so I actually added, well, that was the main kind of compatibility change for now. The other part was that you Cinder reset state gets a new argument of dash dash. I couldn't decide what to call it. Be dash dash pipe or dash dash object or whatever. Where anytime you run it,
Okay.
it by default, it's still volume, but you can say type snapshot, type group, type.
Just have one call.
Yeah.
Instead of continuing to proliferate.
Yeah, so it collapses it all into the one command. And then I don't know what we do with the, the overlapping, like 2 or 3 we already have. I don't know what we do with those. But
Deprecate them with your patch.
yeah. I don't think we've done much of that on the client, so I don't know how that works usually, but we can,
I'm fine with
yeah. Especially since it's an admin fix-it tool kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I deprecated on the API on the server side. I'd love to see them go away. I mean, we have so many extraneous API calls at this point that we should consider like sitting down, maybe making a list for tomorrow and actually going through and looking at it and deciding which one of these do we really need?
A full API review.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
do a Cinder help, like Eric said. I mean, it's a little, and that's not even all of them. There's some stuff in the API that we don't actually have client calls for, if I remember.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of the other point I was getting at, because I mean, my point of view, honestly, is that if you, 99% of the time, if you have to run reset state, I think that's indicative of a bug that we need to like do something better in Cinder. But that's going to take a couple years to sort all that out. Like,
Yeah. All right, it's time for the Q-codes. Let's go pretty quick, right?
Yeah,
All right, so just
go pack in the lines, kind of like you like each other. Done. I know that's not a big ask.
no, I know.
John.
I'll follow the
I
cop.
don't like anybody.
That's why I said pretend. You don't need to actually like people.
Can we all just stand in front of the webcam?
You guys are all gonna find out I'm a vampire.
Of course. The Mosh Fitness Center.
Exactly.
Just work it out.
Yeah, just bring the speaker with you so you can hear all of everything. Oh, I should bring my plate back.
If I could do that, I would. Is this thing still on?
Got a little bit of bacon grease on it.
Look at this.
Probably.
But that's why I got 20 people around. It's fucking around.
And then we
You know, I
can
used to use Evolution and I had to quit because it crashed all the time.
Now do it again. And now that's gonna, we should all make that our ringtone.
It's our entertainment.
That's pretty good. I mean. Oh.
Single echo sticker. That's what you need.
Yeah. But then they break things.
Well, they swapped like just that gate works, so they switched them to a whole cop. Which is like the 3 CIs that it's like that's how most of us do it. We would generate our own local laptops.
We started using it when they told us that we were supposed
It was weird because they would use local RC, use local.com, did it later.
Yeah. Is there a relation?
You have to like make yourself prepare a little bit.
Yeah, I'm actually having difficulty here.
Really take that.
More about recent state or communities.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For a future, not a long, some of it will be force that, to
implementing more of the user messages stuff that's kind of been on the to-do list forever now. It's always at the bottom of this.
I know some guys from Optic was trying to do that in Pike, to extend the coverage. Oh, interact.
Yeah. It's actually really good for somebody to learn things about Cinder. If anybody has new people on Cinder, just to go root out some places they could add those messages. Just common error paths, adding the user messages to it to generate them. There's also some work there, I think, to make the client kind of, I don't know if it's going to be them CLI or Horizon or what, but they automatically. Something is in the client, I think, but there's also still some outstanding patches, I think, there. But I think it is in the client. Yeah. I'm still a huge fan of that effort in general. It hasn't gotten a lot of targeted work since its initial implementation. But the framework is there, so like the hard part's already done. We just need to keep pushing on it and actually use it more.
So if anyone doesn't know, there's the capability added where an async operation failed, it can actually state an error message. So instead of just getting a generic failure, retrieve something and prove what happened. So yeah, I think there's more places we could add that.
Yeah, and my hope is that we can, for the client, I think Nova does this where you can do some operations and there's like a poll argument that'll wait until it actually finishes and see where you end up, if it succeeds or fails. And if we have something like that in Cinder client, you can have that automatically fetch the message and show it back to you and all that kind of stuff. So there's a bunch of usability, nice kind of things that haven't been done there that are kind of obvious steps forward. We have so many people that are excited about usability here. There's some good stuff to do there. Didn't hear all of that. Sorry. Yeah. So all of the messages that are, they're all handcrafted, like specifically written messages that are stored somewhere, and they only show up if you like. The general pattern is you catch some kind of exception, and then you say, generate this user message from here. So that actually doesn't happen with the system. So because they're all explicitly written just for this, and if there hasn't been a message that someone went and wrote, then it just doesn't have one, or you don't generate one at all. Right. Right. I think at most all we ever put in them is like an ID of the. Yeah.
One that I've seen is they fixed it, so it wasn't a Cinder.
that's why the coverage is not so great yet. You have to actually purposefully go right up to you send it out.
And we have 50 units before the notice. About the capacity basically was.
I don't really know. 15 minutes.
Yeah. Or that's-
Is Blue X here? I'm not sure.
Do you think 15 minutes is enough to?
Acquire quota to add additional volume type quotas to that, and then perform cleanup whenever something fails doing.
Is there a spec or anything, or just some ideas?
For now, that's an idea. I can always like if there is any for that. Also, it's like after seeing what will be happening and thinking limit the system, that will probably the moment to do the post at the same time.
Doing some work with Keystone. You're currently doing some work with Keystone.
I didn't start when I was working previously about moving to Keystone, so now I get that whole platform.
That discussion was on complex, so we want.
What's something like this?
Hello, Shane. If you have interest in working on it, putting better test coverage in place.
Yeah.
I think if you're able to also better highlight how it actually is supposed to work, it does work in process, that would be very beneficial as well. Because that was some portion of a previous team I led that worked on putting that in, and I don't feel that it was as well as going to happen as it needed to be. So I've dug through that code, so if you need guidance or help, I don't claim to understand it, but I would be happy to talk about it and see if we can figure it out.
Of course.
So, okay.
We want to spec for that. Second factory.
Well, I mean, it's not, it's gonna probably find a bunch of bugs. Were you the one that went through that hell with us? No, you were looking blankly at me.
On quotas?
There are no quotas.
Well, quotas in general. I've spent more time on quotas than I'd like to just spend a little bit of time with.
Right, okay, I thought you were involved with that, okay. Yeah, so let's, I don't know that we need a spec for it.
Looks like the end of it, scope of the changes, it's just refactoring.
I think about it's easier to write out first and then
Yeah,
actually write the specs.
I guess that's the point where the code changes, strict things, so we want to step back and make sure we all understand. And then add a spec. I do the way just fix it.
Okay, so probably I can start another topic. It will be difficult enough and fixes. Another idea would be, I think, another refactor, and this one even bigger one. We have our DP API as well Alchemy API, things like 7K lines of code. Sorry?
Sorry, it's having a hard time here.
Okay, sorry. So our main file to access DB is, I think, something like DB as well Alchemy API. It's like 7K line of code. I think it's horrible and it's really hard to read through all of that. So it would be really awesome to at least split it in some logical parts, like this for transfer, this for volume, this for snapshot, this for sensitive.
So we could do that. Unfortunately, that file has grown to that size. And that's been completely intentional because everybody's moving more and more into that layer to optimize the call.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's any reason why we couldn't split it out, but have a global init that sucks them all in so we don't have to call each one individually. On that topic, though, I wanted to talk to Gorka and McCall about, are we getting to a point where we can maybe not even need the DB APIs anymore in that whole interface mechanism? Yeah. Instead of having both, just have one. Actually just meld that into the object layer, because then that would solve what he's talking about too, because then you could actually just put, because we have objects volume, well, now you could put the objects volume, API stuff in there as well, or at least off of it. So,
Like separation of and the objects, because we can test each other randomly, and also it's not always like that. An object we are just calling DB API. Sometimes it's more complicated, where some other stuff in the methods. So.
Right. Well, then yeah.
Yeah, but it was a great idea anyway.
Unless, does anybody have any objections to the idea of breaking that file apart? It's going to be a little tricky though, because there's a bunch of stuff that's shared in there. So.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, 'cause isn't that shared with other projects that have the same piece of code? Is that all unique to us?
I'm not sure I follow.
I think everything that's in there is ours.
It's only ours?
Yeah, no one else pulls that in.
We leverage heavily on a lot of the Oslo DB stuff.
Okay, okay. But that's all the common code is out in Oslo.
Everything's fine. It only goes.
Okay,
Yeah.
right, I just want to make sure that's not.
Seems to be like we spit out a test volume that just grew and grew and grew, so it seems like it would be more manageable refactoring.
The structure of this main acting for me, the first time I saw it, that it was in kilos. It's extraction stuff.
On that topic, actually, good note from Gorka. I was wondering whether we actually need or not the layer in between. We have SQL Alchemy API, and then we have DB API that only calls methods from SQL Alchemy API.
I can't hear you, sorry.
Okay. We have another file, like layer in between. We have SQL cinder DB API file, which is like thousands of functions that only call functions within SQL Alchemy API. And I was wondering whether we actually need that, because the only supported backend is SQL Alchemy API, and we don't want to change that.
We love wrappers.
Were there any functional backend? That's
What's that?
were there any functional backend besides
I don't know of any. I know some people had their own custom stuff that they deployed that never went upstream. Yeah, that is good. Now, we might break them, but here's the reality. The reality is it's not upstream, so we never officially support it. It's not really our problem, right? If you chose to go out and customize your fork on something that we had, and you didn't do anything about it, I don't know how concerned I would be. Most of those people that did those sorts of things are not here anymore. So.
But even if we remove this layer, we still have almost identical functions within SQL Alchemy API. The only difference is like most of that hides session parameter of the functions within, so there won't be really change in how the functions are called, how parameters are called. There's only additional parameter out there.
Well, the problem is you'll be, Michelle's point though, is you'll be changing that base API interface, so that anybody that did have a plugin driver behind that, you're not going to work. I don't know.
You're talking DB stuff, and there's also one factor that's worth doing, so probably not sometimes in the packs or when the object. So it's like basically any session is already closed, and we are trying to resolve some objects. So right now, the fix for that is to simply clear load that object the SQL code. But not of it to prevent these kind of errors was to move the session creation, the SQL session creation, into the not in the DB layer, but somewhere in somewhere higher in the stack, like the API layer. So which requires that there's its own session, something like that. It was engine on that, I think.
So, didn't you and I talk about that? Didn't you and I talk about something like that before?
Yes, I played it.
But there's a downside to that. With some of the nested call things, the session. Does it?
So I was looking at that kata, but decided that the network actually is not
Something either one of you guys want to work on?
That would be possible if we expose session from within SQL Alchemy API. It won't be really a problem to require session in somewhere higher level.
What the results about that? And the patches for no other than design or
And I think I need the last part after we finish the Nova.
I have to do like a publish.
Okay.
Okay, yep, and now it's time to meet with Nova. going in that room. We don't care about the stuff. The video here, but they have a pretty big room there, so we could all.
So you guys want to get back?
You have to.